All right, welcome back to Quick Theological Thoughts. I'm Howard Fisher, and in this episode, I want to interact with Charlie Kirk, who's having a heated discussion with a young lady over abortion issue, rape, a baby that's conceived by rape, and not just that, but a 10-year-old girl. And this gets extremely emotional. It's a extremely difficult conversation. Charlie even kind of balks at it for a moment, but I want to run through it and then we'll kind of interact with it as we go. But I want to get a feel for this because this is we're arguing worldviews here, and the reason why I really want to interact with this particular one, this video, this short, is because of the nature of it. It's how we are talking past each other is what we're not on the same page in any way, shape, or form. So even though it's not like two conservative Christians arguing over a particular thing. We're talking about two people who are just speaking right past each other. And maybe this woman's a Christian, maybe she's not. I don't know, but she's clearly arguing from a very different worldview. So let's run through it real quick.
So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped and she was going to give birth and she would, no wait, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
It's no, but it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So that's insane.
But let me tell you why. No, hold on. Let me ask you a question. There's two ultrasounds I have. One is a baby conceived in one is a baby conceived by a loving couple. Which one is which?
You don't know.
Exactly, because it's all human rights and it's all human beings.
But that doesn't matter. It's about your daughter who has to give birth to it and is going to be tortured by that for the rest of her life.
If a person conceived in walks down the side of the street, it's not like they don't get First Amendment rights or Second Amendment rights.
It's not about that person.
The worst thing to do to the daughter is to then say, hey, we're going to go murder the being inside of you. Wouldn't it be a better story to say something evil happened and we do something good in the face of evil instead of saying we're going to do evil and then murder the being because we're going to pander to the evil? No. What makes the West great is that we do good after evil, not evil after evil.
So if
All right, so hopefully you get the flow of this conversation. And these shorts are clearly edited to skip the spaces in between, right, or something. So, but it's a good conversation in the sense of this really illustrates the animosity that the pro-choice and the pro-life have towards each other. How the pro-choice really views the pro-lifer. I've got friends who, just by being a pro-lifer and believing that abortion should be illegal, just saying that makes you a fascist, right? It's just by definition. So these people are looking at us. This young lady looks at somebody like myself, like Charlie Kirk. We are fascists. We are totalitarians. We are, just by definition. And why is that? Because this is a worldview issue. This is by what standard are we arguing from? So let's break this down a little bit.
So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped and she was going to give birth and she would, no wait, would you want her to go through that and carry?
All right, so we come up with a scenario, 10-year-old, and he admits, I do have a daughter. So do I. She's putting out there the most extreme type of case that's generally not what we're talking about, but it comes under the category, right? So we have to face it. We have to deal with this, right? How often do 10-year-olds get raped and pregnant? I don't know. I imagine it's pretty low, but she's throwing it out there. So let's go with it.
Carry her baby.
That's awfully graphic.
So she calls it a baby, she calls it a baby. Think about that. It doesn't. That doesn't penetrate her brain at all, right? That's the fact that she can say that she has to carry her baby. We're using the words, but what are we saying here? Okay. Apparently, she's saying nothing. It's just the fascists are the ones who dehumanize people, right? And yet, who's dehumanizing the term baby? Does the baby have any rights? She says, well, we're going to see.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the baby would be delivered, and she has a cow. All the other girls in the room just laugh. They just think this is absolutely crazy. Why? Well, because it's the result of a rape. So we're talking about an extreme traumatic event, an extremely traumatic event, right? This is a catastrophic event. And so Charlie's argument at this point is going to go tit for tat. But is he assuming his worldview? He is. Is she assuming her worldview when she hears his words? Yes. This is where they're going to talk right past each other.
Okay, great. So that's insane.
But let me tell you why.
That's insane. Why? He's going to tell her why. And she's not listening. Why? Because she's already gone back-brained, right? She's already seeing him as a fascist by definition. Okay? So she's not hearing him at all. She doesn't understand what the West is. So when he talks about the West, that's all meaningless words to her, right? She doesn't, the West, the Christianity in the West, the Crusades, that's the moment you say the West and Christianity, it's the Crusades, right? That's what's in her brain.
No, hold on. Let me ask you a question. There's 2 ultrasounds I have. One is a baby conceived in, one is a baby conceived by a loving couple. Which one is which?
You don't know.
Exactly.
All right. So you don't know. So why does that argument not faze her? Okay? Think about that for a moment. He just got through saying, you don't know one baby from another. And it does not matter to her at all. Why? Why doesn't it matter to her? Because she's arguing from a different standard. She's arguing from a different worldview. And this is the problem. We Christians are not establishing that we're arguing 2 different standards. We're not arguing. He's trying to show her internally that her world is inconsistent. But it's not inconsistent, Charlie. Right? He's trying to show her contradiction, and she doesn't care. Why? Because she's the one dehumanizing babies. It doesn't matter. Listen to what she says.
Because it's all human rights
but
and it's all human beings.
But that doesn't matter.
Did you catch that? He says it's all human rights. She says that doesn't matter. So he's arguing human rights on what grounding? Okay? What grounding? Where do human rights come from? Her human rights is that she has bodily autonomy. Okay? She can do whatever the heck she wants. And I don't know why they bleep some of this. Referring to rape is a bleeping thing, but anyway. But she's arguing from a completely secular view at this point, or some opposing a worldview that is in the opposite of Christianity at this point.
But it's about your daughter who has to give birth to it, and it's going to be...
This is what it's about. Your daughter has to give birth to it. So for her, it's all about the rape itself, okay? But what she's forgetting at this point, and here's where she's skipping out on this, right? He just demonstrated one baby over another they're basically the same, and for her it doesn't matter because it's all about the rape. But wait a sec, what about the abortion that's just for convenience? So she's being inconsistent here, but it doesn't matter that she's being inconsistent because in the bigger picture, it makes no difference. Her worldview can account for both abortions. Just a convenient, an abortion done for convenience sake or an abortion as a result of rape, for her makes no difference. That's the point that Charlie's trying to point out here, and she isn't getting it. Okay? But the problem is she's not going to get it because we're talking past each other because we're not establishing that she's arguing from a worldview that has no grounding at all.
Tortured by that for the rest of her life.
If a person can...
Tortured? Murdering a child isn't torture? Okay? She's not thinking through this.
Conceived and walks down the side of the street, it's not like they don't get First Amendment rights or Second Amendment rights.
It's not...
So he's trying to reestablish people have rights, no matter who they are, no matter how they were conceived, no matter how they come into this world, no matter how they come into existence, people have rights. Okay? And she's going to say it.
About that person.
The worst thing to do to that dog.
It's not about that person. Well, then what's it about? Okay, so here's what we have to do at this point. Right? As a Christian, we would have to say, okay, there's only one of two ways for the Christian to go about this. A, murdering the baby is murder, and so therefore we can't murder the baby because it's murder. Or B, we're going to punish the rapist. First of all, if we were to do it biblically, we would put him to death, especially for raping a 10-year-old, right? So we put him to death, and we're going to cut off his seed. We're going to go Old Testament style here with covenantal or federal headship of some kind. Now we're going to punish him. We're going to punish him and cut his lineage off from the earth for his wickedness. And he tried to plant his seed in her, so we're going to cut him off and his seed, and we're going to kill the baby. And we're going to call that justice. We could make that argument. I think you could make that argument. However, Charlie Kirk's going to go on to say something here, and pay attention.
The daughter is to then say, hey, we're going to go murder the being inside of you. Wouldn't it be a better story to say something evil happened and we do something good in the face of evil?
Wouldn't it be better to do something good in the face of evil? Okay? So he's going to argue, this is where Western civilization comes from. We don't. Christianity in 2,000 years has brought us to the point where we don't respond evil for evil. We respond with good over evil. And she's saying no. Why? Because she's not a Christian. It is that simple. And that's where we have to go. That's what we have to establish. We have to establish she has no grounding for any of this. It is pure emotions, right? Either A, we go Old Testament style, federal headship, which we could make the argument for even as Christians. And she's not making that argument in any way, shape, or form. She just isn't. She's not grounded in that. Could the Christian make that argument? Yes. We could. We're going to cut him off and we're going to cut off his seed. We're going to destroy that. But that's are we in the West, is Western civilization going to do that? Well, what's one of the sayings of the West? Especially in America, right? It is better to let 100 guilty people go free than to incarcerate and find an innocent person guilty. That's what we believe in the West. That's what Christianity has moved our thinking, our Western culture towards. And what are we doing? If we do what she wants, then we're moving away from the very principle that makes America great. Okay? What makes America great? The fact that America historically has followed the ideas of Christianity. It has followed the idea of Christianity in the sense that we don't punish the innocent. Right? We punish the guilty, and we would rather let the guilty go than accidentally punish the innocent. That's why our court systems are the way they are, because Christianity has given to us a legacy of a system in which we try to preserve justice, where we try to make sure no one who is actually innocent is ever found guilty. Even if we accidentally let the guilty go free. We would rather make sure that the innocent stay free. And she doesn't grasp that, because she doesn't have a Christian worldview. She does not have a biblical worldview. She does not have even a Western civilization worldview. The problem with secularism is it's taking us back into the Dark Ages. It's taking us back to the era before Christ. It's taking us back to a pre-Christian world. And that, my friend, is dangerous. In fact, it's so bad, even well-known atheists who are looking around and seeing the results of secularism in the last few years are starting to scratch their heads and say, well, maybe cultural Christianity isn't so bad. So this girl doesn't realize if we go down the road that she wants to put us on, and already has, we're living it out, then we're going to live in clown world. We're living in chaos. And that's exactly what it is. The saying of it's either Christ or chaos. And we as Christians have to establish that. And maybe Charlie Kirk has established this. This is just a short. Maybe he's talked about it to some degree. But that's where we have to go. She's not going to go there. And we just have to simply make our case in a positive way, saying this is what we positively believe. And what are you offering in its place? She's not offering anything. Nothing. She's just saying it's absurd. Grounded in what? We're not told. She can't tell us. She doesn't have anything. Is she saying Jesus is Lord? Right? I mean, what is she saying? She's not saying any of that. Anyway, I don't want to drag this on forever, but this is, I thought it was a great example of how we are talking past each other. We're using the same words. But what I liked about her is that even when we did use the same words, she said it's not about that. At least she was trying to say, hey, we don't care what you say. We don't care how you think. You are just flat out wrong. You can't make these categories. You can't call it murder. You can't say that. But she doesn't tell us why. And that's the rub. So anyway, that's my quick theological thought for the day. God bless. Be good.